I'd like to welcome everyone to today's edition of the Software Spotlight. And today we have with us Jason Eggers from Glances here in the US. And Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. It's an honor to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Great. Really hoping that we can share your solution, which is quite honestly very unique, with all of our listeners so that they can understand how the Glances solution can help them in their day-to-day operations with both B2B employees in-house and remotely. So I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about the origin of Glances and what inspired you to create the platform.
Yeah, and that's really it. Really comes down to we've been doing integrations for 2 decades now, and over that time we've seen a pattern, and the pattern usually goes, I need to move data back and forth because I need to do X, Y, Z, and 80% of the time, what we found is the reason they need to move data is just to have better access to the data from other systems, so their employees have access to that data without having to log into another system. Right. Yes, there's another 20% of times where they need to do some automated workflow or they need to do cross-platform reporting, but we focus on that 80%. So giving your employees access to data when they need it, where they need it, whatever app they use, but also be able to do things eh, while staying in their platform of choice and be able to do things in other platforms.
So it really is a unified interface for employees to be able to see information from a whole variety of different platforms all in their one view. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, and I don't want to overly simplify it, but if you look at the core of what it is, it's a single customer view that lives no matter where you are on any web page. So if any web app, any web page, you get a simplified customer view. You can pull up anything about anybody at any point in time from across your systems in a way that is not just secure, but is limited to what you want to share to your employees. So you can limit and show just the data you need to show to them.
Fantastic. I know a lot of times, even within, the organization, a lot of different levels of access are important. Some employees need to have, full access to some applications, limited access to others, and, some they need to be able to have different permissions with. So being able to provide access to employees at the level that they need is really, really amazing. And I have to say, the interface and the design, the UX design of Glances is very appealing, very intuitive. I know there's a lot in there, but you've really pulled it all together in a beautiful interface.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's the hard, complex problem to solve: is how do you do so much, make it so powerful, while making it seem very easy and simple to not just see but digest and use, right? So I appreciate that.
Fantastic. Now, what would you say are some of the key features that, or features and benefits of Glances that, whether it's a business or an individual using the platform, would feel are important to them?
Yeah. So the reason people come to us and use our product and stick with our product is that they call us the silver bullet for their needs. So really, what we are, sometimes we get lumped in with other solutions that are really data integration solutions. But what we're really focused on is how to achieve your dream workflows, right? So how do you get to a point where you can give your team exactly the data they need to see and the ability to do the things they need to do in the most efficient way possible? So our key feature is being able to, you can design the workflow, ideal that workflow you want that works across all your different apps, so each employee can do and see what they need to do in the most efficient way possible. So that's the key feature and benefit. That's why you do it. In the past, you would solve that by moving data back and forth between systems. But once you start adding systems, 3, 4, 5 different systems, right? CRM, accounting, marketing, support desk, it goes on and on, email, all that stuff. Moving data back and forth becomes super complex because you're not talking about one system to one system. You're talking about one system to 10 systems, right? So instead, what we've done is we've said, let the data live where it wants to live. lets us make it possible for you to access that data, whether you live in your CRM, whether you live in your support desk, wherever you live. That data is always available without having to do that data moving back and forth, which is, like I mentioned, expensive but prone to break.
Interesting. And that is really intuitive, in that I know a lot of times, a remote employee may just need to be able to see some information in a contact database so that they can, shoot out an email or some other form of contact or update a record in a system that they're working on. But they may not necessarily need to send that information back and forth. So it sounds like for those use cases where it's really more of a looking at the information, but not really needing to update or change those records in the original system of record, that it handles those situations with ease.
Yeah. So, for example, one of my favorite use cases is a call center, and so call center agents, they roll over a lot. There's a lot of turnover. So
Sure.
the company need to make that process as simple as possible, but they also need to make the data views as simple as possible, so you don't have to spend a lot of time training. Because usually they hire someone, they put them on a phone right away and say, hey, go right at it, and they don't want to have
Sure.
to train them, right? So our interface is designed, it's perfect for them. So what they're able to do then is, anytime a call comes in, they just have it open up Glances automatically with that phone number pre-populated, searching, hey, does that exist in the CRM already? If not, it opens up a form for them to enter everything about the name. It's a timeshare recovery company name. How many timeshares do they have right now? All this long data. If they do exist, it opens up with that data pre-populated, and they can enter and update that data on the fly and hit save, and they're done, and then wait for the next call. And they have no knowledge of what system that data lives in. And we know behind the scenes in that use case, they're using something like a Go High Level to store it, but the agents have no idea, so they don't need to be trained on how to use that data or how
Neat.
to use
So
that.
yeah, so for an employee, it really gives them the opportunity to access all the data they need without having to learn each system individually. That sounds
Exactly.
like a huge win in terms of training and getting people up to speed, and especially for companies that have a lot of seasonal employees or shifts in demand, maybe during the holidays or Black Friday or Cyber Monday.
Um,
Um,
Voting season. We have a customer right now. Their business is all based off of fundraising for different political parties. So
sure.
they'll bring on tons of employees every couple of years when that season comes about, right? And so with Glances, they're able to get people on and doing the fundraising and not have to train them on every system they use. It says, hey, open up Glances and here's all the data you need, and here's what you got to do.
So from what I'm understanding, it sounds like there might be some workflows built into the system that users can take advantage of for different use cases.
Yeah, well, so when I say workflows, it's how do you get from point A to point B for whatever task you need to do as fast as possible. The workflows we allow teams, businesses, and team leaders to implement the workflows that they have in their mind,
Got
right?
it?
They have a great idea of where they want to get to, and the challenge over and over again for them is, I know this is where I want to get to, but in reality, I can't get there because those solutions don't exist in the world. The best I can do is start moving data back and forth, but there's still gaps. Like, okay, I see the data now. Now, how do I update it, and how do I give my team access to do it in a way that's not going to blow up all our data across all our systems? It's super complicated, and that's the problem that we're solving here.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest with you. In preparing for our podcast, I was looking for other solutions that were similar, or can we fit Glances into a box? And quite honestly, it is super unique, and I can really see this solution across a lot of industries, and it seems really flexible. Is probably my biggest takeaway from having worked with the solution.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've designed it that way on purpose. In fact, we have a patent on the platform itself that allows us, we've designed a way that allows us to connect to any application out there that has an API. And even with applications that don't have an API, there's ways to slap an API on it using third-party API solutions that can do it on a internal database. on a spreadsheet, whatever, and make that available through our platform still. So anything that can get an API potentially, it can be supported through Glances.
Neat. Now, let me ask you, a lot of our listeners have businesses that they're running and they're busy, and the very last thing they want to be doing is jumping into coding and programming. Um, does it require any kind of coding to use the solution, or?
Absolutely none, and that's we spent 5 years of development on this, and so that way folks don't have to do that, right? So that way they can focus on, hey, all I need to do is start a trial here, select my apps, do a connection one time, and so connect my app, and then from there I can see all my data right away. It just nothing else needs to be set up. Sometimes you may want to have some customization that is specific to your business, and we work
Sure.
with you on those specific use cases.
Very nice. Now, let me ask you, as you were developing the solution over those 5 years, what were some of the biggest challenges and hurdles you had to overcome to get the solution to where it is now, which is pretty elegant?
So how do you support over 3,000 known SaaS applications out there, or support the ability to add all those on quickly, right? That's the biggest challenge because the traditional integrations can take 3 to 12 months plus for a normal integration, right? So how do we do that in a way where we can build it and make that and take that down to a 2 to 8 hour process, which is what we've done.
Wow, that is unbelievable. So let me ask, the solution from where it's at now, do you see, the old 80/20 rule, do you see a handful of applications that you can name that are specifically the most popular with Glances users?
Yeah, as far as complementing what Glances does, any sort of data moving tool, so a tool that moves data back and forth. A very popular one that we love is Zapier. And so a lot of our customers will use Zapier as well for that 20% use case or where they need automations to happen and when they need to do cross-platform reporting. Where we specialize in is everything that you can't automate, we make that stuff easier, the
So
workflow stuff.
are there solutions like CRM or accounting or programs like that are very popular with Glances users?
Yeah, so you got the different categories. So I always like to start at the category level. So CRM is always the number one, and every CRM system believes that they're the center of truth. That's just not the case, right?
Sure.
The case is the center of truth is whatever department you're in and what app you use, right? So accounting systems, that's the accounting center of truth. The support desk, that's the support desk center of truth. So really, so I always push back. And I lived in the CRM world for a long time.
Sure.
So so you got those. You got I mentioned email or collaboration software, document repository. So when you go to each level of those, what are the popular CRMs? Salesforce. You got what else? HubSpot. A high level. It just list goes on and on. We support a ton of CRMs and
Perfect.
many right out of the box. And if we didn't support it, if there's an API, we can add it within hours.
Great. And what about email? Are there different email solutions that are popular with Glances users?
Yeah, the big ones are always the Gmail and Outlook, the Google
Got it.
Workspace and the Microsoft Office solutions. Those are always the
Okay.
biggest two.
And then accounting and finance, do you see the same solutions being used across different industries, or what do you see popular on the finance end?
Yeah, so the big three that we see are QuickBooks, Xero, and FreshBooks. Right. And the popular use case these days is using those with a solution like Monday.com, a project management tool that is also now a CRM tool. And it just does so much. So being able to access accounting data, and that's a core use case that people come to us for. They want to make very sensitive data, their book data, their accounting data in QuickBooks and Xero available in a way that's safe for their employees to access without giving them direct access to those systems because they don't
Sure.
want those numbers, the books to be messed with at all. So how do you do it in a way that's safe and secure? We've managed to come up with a perfect solution for that.
Sure. And obviously, it sounds like you have a ton of experience in the app space. So, I guess my next question would be, as users are getting up and running, let's say that they find that a solution that they need is not available. How can they request an app or something on that idea, or how does that work?
Exactly. So that's our goal, is to help each and every company achieve their ideal workflows. So what they do with us right now is, hey, we need XYZ app. Here's what we were looking to do, and we work with them to get exactly what they need, and get a better understanding, and get the data views they want, and also the actions they need, the things they need to be able to do in that system while working other systems.
Great. No, that's helpful, because I know a lot of people on the call are wondering, hey, everything he mentioned is great, but we have this one off that's a
Mhm.
little bit unusual that only some people are using. So that is a big question I know a lot of people have.
And
Well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. That's why we designed the system we did in the way we did it. It allows us to. It's impossible to support 3,000 plus apps right out of the gate. Impossible, right? But we
Sure.
designed it in a way that allows us to take hours to add another app instead of taking months and months and months.
That is fantastic. I can hear people saying, "Show me the interface already. Stop talking about it. We want to see what it's all about." So I
Sure.
was wondering if maybe you could give our viewers a quick look at the Glances interface and maybe a high level overview so that they can
Yeah,
understand what it's all about.
yeah, I'd be happy to. And it's going to take a matter of seconds to really truly understand what it is. And it's going to give your viewers and listeners a lot of ideas of where they can go with it, what they can do, right? So the way I always like to start showing the product is in my inbox. This is how I work every day. So when I get up, I check my inbox, and this is where my system of choice is. But this can work in any system, any web page will work. And how Glances works is any text on any page, whether you're on LinkedIn, you're in your CRM, you can highlight that text. Could be a phone number, could be an order number, a name. You could click this Glancy icon. It's going to open up Glances, and that Glances view is going to be the same across all apps. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and click this stamp, we call it, next to the email address, which we automatically stamp, and it's going to pull up everything about this person from all the apps that we use inside our business here. So we use Google Drive. It's going to find everything about them in our document repository. So whether it's a document with that name, a folder name, or it's content that has that name in it, it's going to pull that up. Even images is really cool. A really great use case is that I need to quick see all the invoices that I've sent out to this customer. In this case, this customer wants a invoice resent. I could pull up the latest invoice, drill down to a granular level without having direct access to QuickBooks, the accounting system. I can access this in a way that's safe and secure and see what was sent, what are the line items, and then I could do things with it. So in this case, they want this invoice resent. I might go ahead and hit the actions area here and resend this invoice to an email address. I could also duplicate an invoice or do whatever I need to do, right? So this is kind of the main crux of what Glances is. It allows you to view everything you need to view across your systems wherever you are. I'm stuck with one tab right now. I can't switch tabs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up this record that's in QuickBooks. No, so me as a user, I have a user account already in QuickBooks, so I'm allowed to do this. If your folks didn't have an account, they would just go to the login screen and not be able to log in.
Sure.
But but this is going to bring me right into QuickBooks if I need to go get to that record at a more deeper level than that is able to show me, right? And is Glance is going to work the exact same in QuickBooks as it did in my inbox, in my CRM. I might be able to pull up everything about whoever I'm looking at. In this case, I got an invoice to myself, Jason Fanatical Labs. And if that record didn't exist, let's say right now I have no search results, this person does not exist in our system, I can go ahead and create a customer record in another system without having to log into that system. So here I can take all that data in and create a new record. So it's now available to my accounting team or available to my support desk team or CRM. Wherever I need that data to exist, I can have a workflow design that allows me to get that data where it needs to be.
Fantastic.
I believe I'm still on. Which tab am I on? So are you able to see right now?
Yeah, so we can see the overview on the right. We see QuickBooks, and in the center screen we see the individual there.
Great. Now, if I switch tabs, I think this is where I'm going to fail here. So I'm going to go ahead and so, copy paste the URL in here. So another use case here is if you're using a project management tool. So we
Right.
have people who sell auto parts and they use Monday.com for the inventory and for their other
Sure.
sales, or they might do roofing. We get that. That's a common use case that we get. You can pull up everything about whoever you're looking at on your customer board, and just so what you saw before is our browser extension, and it works in all the major browsers. We also have native applications like for Monday.com. We can get to a deeper data level by having a native integration. So if I were to do a search for a customer here and they don't exist yet, now Jill does exist here. I can go ahead and create again a customer record and have that pre-populated with data that already exists in my boards in Monday or whatever system I'm looking at with a native solution, right? Uh, the key point here is no matter where I'm at, whatever application I live in, I'm going to get that same data view that follows me around everywhere. So I can see all whatever applications we use. So if we were an e-commerce store, I can see all orders. I can see any support conversations, mail marketing activities. What have they clicked on, viewed on, all that information, any estimates that were sent out. And so I can see that data, but I could also do stuff with that data or create new data records.
Neat. And I know with hybrid commerce, we're seeing a blurring of the lines between distributors, retailers, manufacturers. We're seeing a unified channel. So I'm sure a solution like this really plays into that market trend in terms of being able to provide a unified view of data across platforms, which is important to more and more organizations.
Yeah, because they may be selling it on 5 different platforms, right?
Right.
And they need to see, okay, which platform did this customer buy from? And that's that great use case.
Fantastic. The other question I had, is it complicated to set up? I know a lot of integration or a lot of platforms are pretty challenging to get set up. What is the from initially signing up for a free trial, and we'll leave a link in the notes for anyone that would like to take advantage of the free trial. What's involved in that onboarding and getting up and running?
Yes, literally once you start a trial, which there's no credit card needed at all. It's a 14-day free trial, and I'm happy to extend that based off of what your needs are. Sometimes it takes longer, right? But as soon as you
Sure.
hit start trial, you're going to go ahead and select all the apps that you use in your business, and you select, and then you connect the ones you want to connect, and it's all point and click. So it's just like any OAuth is a very common API type of authentication these days. But
Right.
whatever the authentication is, a lot of times it's just, hey, I just got to use my username and password, and now I'm connected, and now it's available to my whole team. And now it's available to my whole team. I can see all the data views and do a search right away. So it should be a
So
matter of minutes.
neat. And the other question that's very different than years past and applications past. How is data stored, and how is the security and privacy for users maintained? Can you
Yeah,
talk to
yeah,
that?
absolutely. And we take a strong stance that the data, we should let the data live where it wants to live. So it's stored in your systems. It gets transported to the user who's using it using SSL and all the standard security protocols. But we don't store the data ever on the Glances server. It's passed through and then gone.
Understood. Okay. Well,
Yep.
that's important, especially for a lot of organizations. Security is clearly in the news and at the top of mind for a lot of IT departments.
Yep.
Um, and the other question I had, I didn't know. Obviously, we touched on a few different use cases, but is there a story of a particular company that has been up and running on the platform that comes to mind where you know they've shared their feedback with you as to how it's changed their lives?
Yeah, Red, we have a case study coming out right now. It should be any day right now. It's just
Sure.
being finalized. And I mentioned the call center one. So they're doing thousands and thousands of customer lookups on a weekly basis. So they're saving hundreds and hundreds of hours using Glances because of these processes. So when you get to that point, you're saving tons of headcount, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars being saved by just using Glances. So,
Neat. So if you were to say the key takeaways for implementing the solution, clearly being able to have access to all of the different applications and across users and permission levels and the like. And then obviously cost savings is a huge takeaway for a lot of organizations. Are there other high level benefits that you see for different organizations that are implementing Glances?
Yeah, the big one again is you're gonna be able to implement the exact workflow your team needs. So that way they can view data instantly. They can take action and do things instantly without having to log into other systems. And honestly, the dirty secret here too is they can save money on software licenses. All right, if you
Sure.
don't need to have a license to a certain system because you get that data through Glances, that's money saved that way as well. So it's not just productivity efficiency gains. There's gains to be made. It pays for itself in that way before we even talk about the workflow efficiencies.
Neat. Well,
No.
I think that that's really helpful, and I really appreciate your sharing the screen there so people can get a feel for the interface because it is a key part of the whole Glances concept. At a high level, as far as the industry, where do you see things heading over the coming years? What do you see as some of the emerging trends?
Yeah, it's how to be. We're seeing a lot of these days. There's two things. AI is huge right now. Automate everything as much as possible, and let the computers make the decisions for us. Right. But what we've seen, and we've seen already the last 6 months here, the reality is computers can only do so much. There needs to be some things just require a human touch, and we're going to get back to that. So that pendulum's going to swing back to that, and we see that at Glances, and that's why we're here. Is when you can't automate things and just make things work without a human, you got to have a human that drives that process, and that's what Glances enables you humans to do and be efficient at. Is the things you can't automate, that's the stuff we do. We make it easier for you.
Fantastic. And speaking of AI, because I know that's top of mind for a lot of companies, and it's a shiny object and a big talking point, but in reality, does AI play a role in Glances at this point, or do you see it down the line, or not so much?
Yeah, we are absolutely always looking at that, and our research labs is looking at how can we incorporate that, and because we have access to all these systems through the APIs available, is how do we take that data and make it more usable, where it's not just viewing the data but giving you actionable insights, right? And now that's more at the dashboard level. It's more at a managerial level where that becomes more useful. But then how can you also get that to a point and make actionable data available to the end users who are in the trenches getting stuff done every day? So there absolutely, I see something coming industry wide that's going to be more useful for everyday tasks to be done more efficiently because we're being told, hey, this is important. You should be following up on this right now. So we're seeing the beginning of that. I think the next 10 years are super exciting for that.
Neat. Well, I have to say, I can see, the Glances solution, both for customer facing employees, sales and marketing and customer service and all of that, as well as, individuals that are behind the scenes, maybe accounting and finance and different operations and IT and all of that. It really is touching at all the different levels. So that's pretty exciting. And as you said, the insights and all of that can be gained through AI are absolutely exciting, and where we're heading is amazing. So we'll kind of see where things head on that level. I don't know if you can share with us, but are there any new features that you have on the immediate horizon that you can share with our listeners that you think would be insightful for them?
Yeah, so we're having access to data at there's two big things. The one right now is we make data available to, if you make a connection right now, you're making that connection as an admin to give data available to everybody. We've just rolled out the ability to have personal connections, so I could connect myself as an end user of Glances to my CRM using my user account, so I only see the data I see. So having personal level connections, and why that matters is I can now connect my Outlook or Gmail, and this is coming up, and see and search my email addresses or my email inbox for anybody that I need to search for, a order number, a name, a text. I could search my personal information for anything that I need to search for my customers. So that's the big one coming up. The other one is be able to have multiple app connections. So there's people who do managed services for other people. So they might manage 12 Shopify stores. They might manage 3 CRM systems. So be able to add multiple different applications to my Glances interface would make it easier for me to manage all my customers that I do work for on behalf of them. So those are the two big things coming up right now.
Neat. Now, for people who are looking to get started with the Glances platform, I know obviously you mentioned that there's the free trial, and we'll leave a link to that in the show notes, but I know you have different plans. You have your starter, your professional, your enterprise plan. If someone is trying to decide where their organization fits, what would be the key elements that they should look at as they're deciding what level of plan they need? And do they have the access to adjust plans if things change?
Yep, great questions. So the two different plans that are most popular right now are starter or professional. Starter, if you just need to see the data and you don't need to do anything with it, that's where starter plan comes in, and that's most popular with companies that are 1 to 3 employees, right? That just, I just want to have access to that data. Where it gets really useful is when you start doing things. So I want to be able to create an invoice. I want to be able to create estimates or add a customer to a CRM. Anytime you need to do something, an action, that's where the professional plan comes in, and that's where the majority of our users live. The enterprise, that's when you get to the big things where you need to have different field level permissions, or you need to have SSO in order to authenticate, that kind of stuff. So we don't have usually people will fall mostly in the professional level. And I always suggest, if you're not sure, start with starter and see how it works. You could always add professional later. You could always change your plans up or down. You can add users or remove users. And right. When you add those users, you're really just inviting your team one by one. Hey, I want to add these people. You add their email address and you invite them. And once they accept, they're on your team.
So an organization may have 500 individuals, but maybe only 100 really need access to the solution. They can choose just those individuals.
Exactly right. Yep.
Neat. And the other question, is there a size organization at which the solution makes sense or doesn't make sense? Because we want to make sure that the right types of users are signing up.
Yeah, so the sweet spot is if your functional group is using 3 or more different apps a day, that's where Glance is useful, and you can save potentially up to 5 hours a week at least, right? So you need to have those 3+ apps, and that's the crucial. As far as company size, the sweet spot is anywhere between 10 to several hundred users.
Okay, all right, great. So that helps us out a lot. Well, that is very insightful and helpful, and hopefully we've helped a few of our listeners, figure out if it's the right solution for their needs. On a final note, are there any other details that we left out that you wanted to make sure we shared with our listeners, or anything else that you wanted to make sure we covered?
I think your questions were all on point. I think we covered them all. The key points are we allow you to achieve the dream workflow you want to do, that you want to have your team have, so they have the data they have always available instantly and be able to take the actions they need to take whenever they need to, right?
Great. Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. So once again, we've had Jason Eggers on the Software Spotlight today from Glances here in the US. And just to give our listeners an idea, coming up on our next episode, we have Stephen Harvey from Content at Scale, and they actually have a very exciting AI product. Their product actually allows organizations to publish high-ranking SEO optimized content instantly. And the solution offers a unique AI writer that delivers long-form content that is both unique and research-backed and in your own brand voice. So that'll be our next episode with Stephen Harvey from Content at Scale. So thank you very much for joining us today, Jason. And we'll leave a link in the show notes for anyone that's running with the solution.
Thanks for the opportunity. Loved it.